Now, Rob, first of all, NBA Finals are over. Golden State won it in 5 games this year, which you predicted. What did you see throughout the course of the playoffs that made you say, through Golden State's playoff run and Cleveland's playoff run, made you say, that the series would be over quickly in 5 games in favor of the Warriors?
The last year, it was really a blowout. It was 3-1. All the games were lopsided, and then the Warriors wind up choking. They didn't lose back-to-back games all year. Then they lost three straight to lose the championship. So I
Right.
looked at that, and then I looked at them adding Kevin Durant and the idea that they couldn't guard him. So I looked at it and said, I wanted to say a sweep. Skip Bayless tried to get me to say a sweep, and I said no. I said I want to say a sweep, but I'll go with 5 games. I'll give Cleveland one at home, and I even predicted that Cleveland wouldn't win Game 3, which is the game most people thought they would win, and that didn't happen as well. But anyway, I just didn't. I saw it as a mismatch. I'm not surprised, and even the one game that the Cavaliers won, it took a historic shooting night for them to even win that game. So
Yeah.
I thought they were overmatched, and I'm not surprised that it was pretty easy for Golden State.
Now, you said the addition of Kevin Durant was the difference. He received a lot of criticism for his decision to leave OKC and go to Golden State. With him winning the title, do you think that he silenced his critics?
No, I don't think it was anything about whether or not he could win. It was more about, again, the imbalance of the league, the rich getting richer. There's no competition. They won a championship. No one's going to take it away from them. But when you go back and look at who they went through, and they went through the playoffs 12-0, and it's just questionable as far as who did they play. They didn't play anybody. There was nobody in their way. They had already won a championship without Kevin Durant. And that's not to say that they wouldn't have won if Kevin Durant wasn't on their team this year. It might have been a little tougher, but it doesn't mean that they wouldn't have won. And so I don't think he really silenced his critics. I mean, the only thing that was good from his standpoint is that he played well and won the MVP. So it's
Right.
not like he just piggybacked on them and won a title on a humble. You know what I mean? He actually went out and earned it. So from that standpoint, I think he came out on the plus side. But I still think people look at him and say he took the easy way out.
You're a Detroit guy. Rasheed Wallace said that 2004 Pistons will beat this Warriors team. As a fan of Detroit teams and watching that 2004 Pistons team take down the Los Angeles Lakers, who could have been considered one of the other super teams to come before the Warriors, do you agree with him?
I think they would have had a shot. Absolutely. That team was special. I covered that team for their entire run of 6 straight NBA Eastern Conference Finals with no stars. I saw them beat the Lakers with Shaq, Kobe, Karl Malone, Gary Payton. I mean, those 4 future Hall of Famers all in one lineup. Shaq and Kobe had already won 3 in a row without Karl Malone and without Gary Payton. So for the Pistons to beat them in what I call a 5-game sweep, because the one game that's the first 5-game sweep in the history of the NBA. Because the one game the Lakers won, they really shouldn't even won that game. Kobe made a 3, forced it into overtime, and Pistons really gave that game away. But anyway, could they win? Yes. They played defense. It was a different league. You could defend. I saw that team stop 9, 10 teams in a row, held them under 70 points because they played D. They got stops at the end. They might be the last great team in the NBA, and what I mean by that is real team, no stars, 5 guys put together, a lot of misfits and cast-offs and guys who didn't work out in other places, and they put together an unbelievable run. Probably should have won another championship and probably should have gotten to 2 more. They got to 2. They probably should have got to 4 championships.
Right.
That's how good that team was.
Now, LeBron James is now 3-5 in the NBA Finals. He played very well in that finals. He averaged a triple-double. But in terms of the comparisons to Michael Jordan, would this loss solidify that he'll never be on that level?
I just don't see how you can put him in that GOAT conversation at this point. Now, if he wins the next 3 titles, maybe we can reopen it, but I don't even see that happening. But I'll say he holds something, a record now by himself. He has the most losses of any ex-NBA MVP. Wilt lost 4. Magic lost 4. Somebody else did too, but he's the only one with 5 losses. Kareem lost 4. So those 3 lost four championships, and now he's alone by himself as a former MVP with 5 losses. So that's why I nicknamed him the Fofo. Finals failure of all time, because, you know, of the guys you talk about in the conversation of GOAT, he's lost the most. And the problem I have with a lot of LeBron's fans is, if he would have beaten Golden State, they would have held it up and said it was the greatest thing that ever happened and he's the GOAT. But when he loses, they try to discount it as if it's not important or it's not the same. So if it's important that he won, it's got to be important that he lost. And you can't have it both ways.
There's a report that the Warriors are considering unanimously not visiting the White House to celebrate their championship win. I just want to get your thoughts on their decision to do that.
I see why. I could understand it. Some reasons that some Patriots didn't go. I mean, you know, it's a divisive White House. A lot of people, you know, you got to make your own decisions. If you don't feel comfortable with who's in the White House at the time and the policies and the situations or whatever, I think people have their right. That's what this country's all about, the right to protest, the right to be against the government in situations. That's what separates this country from so many others. And if they took a vote and decided they don't want to go, I respect it.
Definitely. NBA draft is coming up. Out of all the prospects that's going to be in the draft next week, who do you think has the most superstar potential out of all of them?
I don't know if anybody does, to be honest. I think they're all pretty much the top 3 or 4 the same. I don't think anybody could point to any of them and say, this guy's going to be the next LeBron James or whoever you want to name. I think the most intriguing person, and because of his dad, is Lonzo Ball, and that's the one that people will look at. Do the Celtics pass on him with the first pick, and he goes to the Lakers with all his dad's talking about how great he's going to be? Does he flop? Does he live up to the billing? You know, he's the most intriguing guy to me, and the guy that most people will watch and think about the draft and whether or not he was overhyped, underhyped. You know what I mean? Was he hurt by his dad's big mouth or not? So Lonzo Ball to me is the one that I really want to see the most. I don't think there's, out of the other 3 or 4 guys, I don't think there's a clear cut that this guy has to be number 1 or this guy. Like when LeBron came out, it was pretty obvious. So Lonzo Ball is my guy. I'm keeping my eye on for the NBA draft.
Definitely. One more thing I want to get your opinion on. LeBron and Draymond yesterday during the Warriors parade, they started exchanging a couple shots on social media. Do you think? What was your thoughts on that?
I didn't hear who started it. I mean, I think that's weird that and I don't know if Draymond started it or LeBron. I have no idea. So you have to fill me in on that. But I just thought that normally when somebody wins, you kind of stay out of the spotlight on their day, let them enjoy their parade. They won the championship, respect that, and kind of move on. Now, unless Draymond said something that was out of line, I just don't think that that's the right place. Or, you know, do it on the court. Tweeting and doing that stuff, I think that's kind of lame to me. It's over. Golden State won, Cleveland lost. That's the bottom line.
Last thing. Last week you had shared with me your interview with Rick Barry, and how he had some comments about how players and analysts just the narrative that analysts don't have the same knowledge as players. Can you just give me your thoughts on that narrative, because it's been a topic in sports over the last several years?
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like it's okay if you a guy who's a former player obviously knows more than I do from the standpoint that he's been out there, but that doesn't negate my knowledge of the game and my experience and, you know, what I've watched over my 31-year career and talking to players and all kinds of stuff. So I think that's really what it came down to. It was more about him using that as the ultimate trump card. And I don't think it's right because Brad Stevens didn't play in the NBA, and Brad Stevens is an NBA head coach.
Right.
Bill Belichick didn't play in the NFL, and he's an NFL head coach who's won 5 Super Bowls. So you're telling me he doesn't know the game because he didn't play out there? You know what I mean? On that level, doesn't mean you don't know the game. And that was the only thing I was trying to get through to him, was not that I'm discounting his experience of being a former player, but he shouldn't discount my expertise just because I didn't play. There are so many people who have studied the game and know the game, and maybe they couldn't play it at that level, but that doesn't mean they don't know the game. So I thought he was out of bounds. I thought he used a lame excuse that some players use. But, hey, it is what it is. I think he came off looking unprofessional. And as for a guy name calling at 73 years old, I thought that was pretty lame.